Welcome to the iHemp Hour. My name is Dave Craybill. I'm with iHemp Michigan. iHemp Michigan's mission is to educate, inform, and promote the research, development, and cultivation of industrial hemp in Michigan. iHemp Michigan advocates for wellness and people on the planet through hemp, and it begins with the farmer. Mike Brennan, let's start with Mike Brennan with the Michigan Marijuana Report, though. Do you have some news to share with us today?
Yeah, on my show yesterday, we call it 420 Post, and it airs at 1 o'clock on Facebook. We had some guests on there that were talking not only cannabis but also hemp. The Lake Superior State University, the dean of the college that does the cannabis chemistry, was saying that two things. They've added some new equipment in their lab, so they have a very sophisticated lab, and they hope to play the role of if there needs to be a neutral arbiter. Say one private lab says one thing and another private lab says another thing, they could forward it up to them at Lake Superior State, and then they could say yay or nay or whatever the case may be, because they wouldn't have a dog in that fight. That'd be publicly funded university kind of thing, and they could just help with that sort of dispute should that come up. The other thing that he mentioned, and it happened just they announced, I believe, on Tuesday, where they're going to have scholarships available for cannabis chemistry, which, hemp plant, cannabis plant, same thing, just the difference is the THC stuff. So if you really want to learn the chemistry behind the plant itself, that's what Lake Superior State is now specializing in. It's way up north. You can't get much further north and still be in Michigan, but great school. So that's good news. The other thing was we had a University of Michigan professor on the show as well. He was saying the U of M, which is not an agricultural college like, say, Michigan State, they're taking a serious look at starting to grow hemp and use it in a way so that they can do some clinical analysis, scientific studies on the various properties, because the big bugaboo for the reason that cannabis remains a Schedule I drug is no medical use, which, as we all know, is not true. And so the U of M may step into the arena on that and do some scientific studies and then try to push those forward. And he was urging that, the professor was urging that everybody, lobby their legislative folks or their congressional folks or senators, or even Biden for that matter, and try to get them to understand that all that nonsense about reefer madness that we all grew up on, it really doesn't apply to hemp, and it does a little bit to cannabis, but not that much. I mean, that's pretty much, we've got 19 states that have adult use legalization now, and something around 40 that do medical. So anyway, we're getting, the universities now are joining the argument, as it were, and saying it's really time to bring this into the 21st century, which I think is going to be really good news for not only the cannabis industry, but the hemp industry as well.
I have a question on the testing with Lake Superior State. One of our sponsors, our past sponsor, Viridis Labs, they have some sophisticated testing equipment for mold that can actually, it's not just sitting out in a petri dish and seeing if something grows in an unclean environment.
Right.
They actually have some tests, some equipment that'll determine, the potential for mold and what is there. Is that the kind of thing that they're looking at, or is it just, or is it like, hey, you're telling me this potency and this other lab's
No, they're
this
more.
other potency?
Lake Superior is looking at, for instance, what the level of pesticides is in the plants. They're digging into that level of stuff. Not so much the potency of the plant, but what's affecting the plant, what's actually coming up through the ground or from the air or whatever into the plant itself. Because clearly hemp is a very organically grown substance versus others. Mm-hmm. And so that's what they're going to be really looking at, is those sorts of things. But at the same time, they're training all these kids, or not even kids, young people in many cases, and right now they're training about 100 or so per class, partly to go into labs, and be able to work for private labs. But at the same time, they're also teaching them how to be scientific growers, processors, and all the rest. The only thing they don't teach them how to do is transport, because that's a whole different thing. That's usually ex-military or cops or something that are in the transport. But for all the more scientifically oriented kinds of stuff, that's what Lake Superior State is really getting into. And the U of M now it hasn't actually happened, but I think it probably will. The U of M is still pretty conservative, the administration, as in the president and those folks, when it comes to hemp. But I think it's more of an educational process. They don't really understand it, and they have, so just got to work with them a little bit and say, it's not what you think. I mean, 20,000 uses for hemp, and only a few of those are actually for ingestion into your body. Most of them are not, right?
Yeah.
So.
We had a speaker from U of M at the 2020 Midwest iHemp Expo. I don't recall his name off the top of my head, but he was deep into the cannabidiol sciences. So it was
Gustav Rosario, was that his name?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's who was on the show. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're a real intelligent guy.
Yeah, and he's a big pro hemp advocate. He thinks it's crazy that that we still have prohibitions against all that issues. And then the 1%, that came up, the 1%. I mean, geez, you'd have to smoke a telephone pole joint in order to get high off 1%. So, I mean, it's really ridiculous, some of the things that are out there.
Well, you know what? We were not streaming live on the webpage. I just got, it doesn't work the first time.
Huh.
I don't understand what the issue is lately. Now it's... I think we are streaming live now.
It says live. Yeah, I can see it.
All right. Well.
Yeah, Brad sent me that. Said it takes us to the April 15th.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
It's streaming. I believe it's streaming live now. So Zoom. I'm going to have to keep an eye on this because my normal process that I use has not been working lately. So welcome to the iHemp Hour. For those that have missed the last 5 minutes of the show, we're going to, let's rewind. I'm Dave with iHemp Michigan. Our mission is to educate, inform, and promote the research, development, and cultivation of industrial hemp here in Michigan. iHemp Michigan advocates for wellness and people and the planet through hemp, and it begins with the farmer. Mike, we had this great conversation going and no one knew anything about it, unfortunately. Let's rewind.
It's deja vu.
And because
it's like deja vu all over again, So.
Zoom needs.
All right. Well, as I was saying, we'll just consider that a rehearsal, right? So I'll refine this down and make it shorter. On my show on Wednesday, 420 Post, which is 1 o'clock on Facebook, yesterday we had some university types on there to talk about a couple things. One of them was the dean of the cannabis chemistry department at Lake Superior State University. I think that's in Marquette, way up north. And he was talking about how they made a couple of big changes here in the last week or so. One of them is that they brought in a whole other lab worth of equipment. So they have two very sophisticated labs up there. And the role they would like to play going forward is if, let's say, two private labs in Michigan don't agree on the results of whatever it is they're testing hemp on, whatever the case may be, they could then be the neutral arbiter that would then say yay or nay or whatever the case may be. They want to play that role. Secondarily, they're now offering scholarships for their cannabis chemistry program, and hemp and cannabis are the same plant, just different THC levels. So they want to train a whole new cadre of people that really understand the science behind the plant. And so they've got about 100 or so folks right now going through that program, and they hope to expand it. So that's if somebody's out there that really wants to get plugged into a degree program to really get plugged into cannabis and hemp, how to grow it, how to test it and all the rest, take a look at Lake Superior State University. The other person we had on the show was a U of M professor who was talking about hemp, and he's made I don't know if it's actually been approved yet by the U of M higher ups, but he'd like to have the U of M start to experiment, growing hemp, so that we can begin to really delve into the medical side of it, all the different things that it can be used, the cannabinoids and whatnot, because I think if we can get some good scientific studies, and then we can use those for educational purposes, it will change a lot of minds out there. There's still a lot of people that are resistant to hemp for some reason or another. I don't know why, but I think it's just because they don't really understand it. They still associate it with pot, cannabis, and at the 0.31% level, you're not going to get high off that, but you're going to get great CBDs, and it's going to help you health-wise. So the U of M looks like they're very interested in getting into that, and I think that's really good news. On the educational front, you get, some of these universities behind it saying it's good, and then maybe the, politician types will come along and we'll get some changes in the laws.
Yeah, we can only hope. All right, cool. What any updates on upcoming shows you want to share, Mike?
Well, next week we're going to have a company called Flourish on, and Flourish, two things they're doing. They in the West Michigan area in Grand Rapids, they are opening. I don't know if it's actually open yet. A cannabis accelerator, which will essentially, just like any other business accelerator, but it just focused on cannabis. If you want to get into the cannabis business, you really don't know that much about it. You need the education. Flourish is developing this accelerator to give you that knowledge so that you can get into the business. They also announced that they have some of their select products. They're going to be donating $1 to the Ryan Basor's group that wants to get Last Prisoner Project, that wants to get cannabis records expunged earlier than later. Now in 2023, I believe, automatically all those cannabis busts are going to be expunged, but that's still a couple of years off. And having that on your record, it limits you on your opportunities to do a lot of things, including vote. So they're going to start donating towards that fund to hopefully get all those records expunged here in Michigan. Now it doesn't affect your federal record, but it will be a Michigan bust, sort of thing. And then also a Common Citizen may be on. I'm waiting to hear back from them. They've just gone into a partnership with another very large company to produce some new products. So we'll hopefully have a couple of really large cannabis companies on the show next week. But I haven't got confirmation from everybody on everything, but I think we're in pretty good shape. So that's probably what we're going to have.
Okay, very cool. Blaine Bechtel.
All right. Well, I got a little bit of farming news that I can share. So we're kind of feeling right now, give everybody a little update. We're waiting to hear back from Eric, our guest that was supposed to be on today to talk about from Vote Hemp. We'll see if that happens. If not, we'll fill in a little bit. We've got some stuff to share, so certainly on that. So first thing I want to bring up is, again, I talked about this last week, but Andrew Simmons has a farm in Flint where they've grown hemp in the pilot program. And they also have a processing facility on site to make oil, distillate, and isolate. And he's looking to partner up with an entity who wants to get with an established business with established SOPs. And he's open to offers. He considers selling outright, leasing, selling with leaseback, or strategic partnership. And it's Andrew Simmons, and his number is 313-673-9861. So if anybody's looking to jump in and get a little knowledge and get a little education from somebody that's gone through it, that's always a good thing there. So an opportunity has presented itself there. So Hemp Roundtables come out with some good news from DC. Two very powerful and influential congressman committee chairs sent a letter urging Attorney General Merrick Garland and USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack to take concrete steps to protect the transport, sale, and distribution of in-process hemp extracts. Last fall, the DEA issued a controversial interim final rule, which, among other things, was to criminalize in-process hemp extract when it temporarily exceeded the 0.3% delta THC. Big controversy on that. They got more than 3,000 comments. And so they have taken some steps now to force USDA and Attorney General to take some steps there to make sure that what was in the Farm Bill, and it was very well considered on this, that industrial hemp is not considered a controlled substance. And even in the process, everybody knows that this, during the process of extracting it, it could and will go over the 3%, but the final product is not. So some good things there that are happening there. Also, there's emergency relief for Farmers of Color Act. USDA is taking seriously the mandates of the recently passed Emergency Relief for Farmers of Color Act. More than $5 billion were awarded to farmers of color across the nation, assisting them with the pandemic relief and helping redress centuries of discrimination. So there'll be some assistance coming out for farmers there in that area. Also, let's see, USDA now, the new Corona 2 kind of improvement to that program, the CFAP, they call it CFAP 2, Corona Farm Assistance Program, is opened up. It's opened up for 60 days. It does mention in here about hemp being helped with that. So I've got some calls into USDA and we'll have some more information to share on that. We've got 60 days to, if you haven't made an application, to make an application. Eligible farmers that have already signed up and gotten some money for their cattle and livestock, they'll automatically be getting another additional payment, a little payment. And then also farmers that got a $20 flat rate for their crops per acre will be getting another $20. And nothing you need to do if you've already signed up. It's already happening. One comment that was interesting in this news article that came out, I want to get to, was according to USDA, only 15,500 applications have currently been approved in Michigan out of the reported 46,000 farms we have. So there may be a lot of farmers out there that have not applied for this assistance. I don't know how they would know about it, but anyway, so there's assistance available. If you haven't filled out, you can go to USDA, type in CFAP2, that'll bring up information, or you can contact me and I can help you step through some of those processes on that. Remember also, we're going to have something in the future talking about how to certify your crops at the FSA office this year. That's a requirement under the farm program, the USDA farm program, and under the state as well. So if you haven't done that, it's a pretty simple process, but a few steps taken now will just make things go a lot smoother in a couple months when you have to certify your crops. So we have that going on. This weekend, if you're looking to take a little road trip, maybe you're a little housebound, you want to get out and do something, down in Indianapolis, Indiana, at the Marriott East, Indianapolis Marriott East, April 9th and 10th, there's a CBD Expo tour. So they'll probably talk a little bit about hemp too, but mainly this is a consumer kind of show, more than it is a business kind of show thing. But hey, if you know, now the basketball's kind of moved out of there, maybe you might want to go take a little trip this weekend and go down and see Indianapolis, Indiana. So that's one of those things you can do out there. Oh, let's see. What other good news have we got this week? Bill, the HR 841 bill, we want to make sure everybody's contacting our senators and representatives to support this bill as it goes through. This bill is going to give us a regulatory pathway to bring CBD into the marketplace, since FDA is not progressing too quickly on that, even though they're getting a lot of pressure. So we want to make sure that we're supporting that as well.
You see the screen? I'm sharing that screen with the HR 841.
Are you sharing that?
Hemp and hemp-derived CBD consumer protection and market stabilization.
That's not what we're seeing. We're seeing efficient.
You're seeing your peer, Dave.
Yeah.
You know, they got my numbers backwards. 2, 1. Okay. All right. So there we go.
Ah, like
There
the
we go.
fishing pier, though, that was good. So,
Yeah, that's actually a little fishing hole in South Jersey. We go crabbing.
oh,
That is so much fun. Yeah. Yeah. So HR 841, contact your congressman. Um, this will make CBD supplement, kind of, I don't know if it necessarily doesn't end around the FDA, but it forces our hand and gives us a clear path, clear regulation to move the industry forward. The other big thing we need to talk about
Mhm.
is the Safe Banking Act. I was talking to one of our AMP members from Align Agro, Rusty Peterson, and they have a website, and Square shut them down and is holding $1,000 for a couple weeks, and it took them 10 days to figure out that it was a customer comment on the website about positive effects of using their CBD product that caused all the information, the shutdown, and they're still holding their money and they're uncommunicative. It's just such a challenge, to do business. It's hard enough as it is, and then just to be arbitrarily shut down because somebody likes your product just seems bizarre.
well,
So,
that's also an issue for these fundraising campaigns like Kickstarter and the other ones. There's a whole myriad of them out there. You cannot make any reference whatsoever to cannabis or CBD, or they won't let you move forward. So it's just time to end that craziness, right?
yeah, I was, just trying to get a bank account. I think I finally got the bank account sorted out with North Star again for the hemp frisbees. We're selling plastic frisbees with some hemp fiber in it. You would think that would be a no-brainer. I could go to Huntington or wherever and get an account, but oh no, not the case. So we need this Safe Banking Act. You need to contact your congressman or woman, and all the politicians.
One of the things we were going to cover today with Eric on the show was the sign the 1% hemp petition.
Mhm.
So you can go to the Vote Hemp petition, Vote Hemp website. They've got a petition there, and I think they've got it on the US Hemp Roundtable as well. This is to support to bring our 0.3% up to 1%,
Yeah.
which would certainly ease a lot of, as we've talked to Craig Van Buren about that before with MDART, it would certainly take care of 99% of anything going hot that they've had come in. So,
Yeah, anything reasonable. And, as we pivot into fiber and grain, these genetics are designed not to throw off a lot of THC, but still there's that potential. So if you have a 10,000 acre crop of fiber or something that is over 0.3% and you can't use it, I mean, how ridiculous is that? So it's not as likely to happen with those genetics, but we just need to eliminate this risk, mitigate the risk at least for the farmers.
Where did that number originate? Was it just arbitrary that the DEA
Yeah,
selected, or what?
yeah, I've read about it. Some of you read, Blaine. It's one gentleman in Europe was writing some rules, and
actually, it was in Canada. It was a researcher up there.
okay,
I don't remember the gentleman's name, but anyways, and not that he used an arbitrary number, but that was the number where things seemed to be different in the research that he was doing. And he's even come out and said that there was just an arbitrary number that was used. It's not anything really scientific, but everybody's grasped onto that and kind of gone with it. So hopefully, with enough of us pressuring and continuing forward on that, we'll be able to get that raised up. So
yeah,
the farmer has more assurance that, if they're following the rules, if they're doing the research, if they're buying, genetics properly, they're not buying them off the street kind of thing, that they'll have some genetics that they'll feel comfortable with investing all that money and time and energy and be able to have a product in the end.
yeah.
Well, even if it goes hot for instance, you could still use it for hempcrete or anything that's non-human ingestible, right? I mean, this doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
Well, there is some remediation that's allowed under this now, instead of just having to destroy it or having a. Actually, what was going to happen under the first rule was it was going to be a third party come in and destroy it. You can imagine adding insult to injury right there, and injury and insult. Now you've lost the crop, lost the money, and now you got to pay somebody to come in and destroy it. So they've allowed some ways for it to be destroyed on the farm, and I'm not clear on what they can do as far as remediating it into product. But I think some things like I'm working with, right? We could take the stalk, we could decorticate it. That certainly wouldn't be used. Or they're making this very fine powder that's going in for the plastics industry. Those kind of things may be able to be used, but I'm not real clear on the exact steps that can be done at this point. So it's one of the things that we'll be talking about on a show in the near future, is the change in the new farm rules and what they've allowed for growers now.
Yeah, mostly you have to chop it up or till it under.
One of the good things that we've had happen, of course, is with MDART and the rules that we have in the state now. They've changed the timing of when you have to reapply for your license. They've moved that into the following year, February, January. So that'll help out quite a bit, I think, with people being able to make the decision. A lot, with the last way we had it, I mean, you were still out processing your crop in one form or another at that point in time, and then trying to be able to decide whether you wanted to go the next year. So we're very grateful that that MDART changed that and got that changed in the rules as we move forward on that.
Yeah, come the end of the summer, we need to put a big push on the legislature, with budget coming up, and talk about how this program's funded and the fees. I'd really like to see a graduated fee, so we can have. We need more people experimenting with this crop, but at $1,300 to grow, I mean, you have to be prepared, with the plan and a market to sell it already. You're not. It's not going to be a hobby. So, unless you got $1,300 to burn, but
all that does is get you a permit. Then you got to spend all that money to grow
right.
it.
Yeah, just take that entire. It cost that 1 acre that I grew in 2019. We probably had about 20 grand into that 1 acre.
Serious money.
And I still have some CBD distillate, about 5 liters of it that I'm working through, and it's like, I'm not alone in that. I talked to Mark Volmar from Alpha. He's got like 10,000 pounds of biomass he's still sitting on. He'd love to move. So if you know anybody looking for CBD biomass.
I got a call the other day, Dave, from a gentleman that's got 50,000 pounds.
Ouch.
10 pounds of CBG, 10,000 pounds of CBG, and 40,000 pounds of organic biomass.
Is this from just 2020 growth?
That's 2020 crop, yeah, not 2019, 2020 crop.
Yeah, so anyone listening, if you don't have a buyer, don't grow more than what you need personally for your use.
Or what you can afford to lose or store for a while. Yeah.
There's so much expense involved, but we're coming. This. Should I talk about Denver?
Before we talk about that, let's talk about what's going to happen on Earth Day, Dave. Let's share a little bit of news about that.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So Earth Day. Well, let's do a little trivia question. Does anyone remember first what happened on Earth Day 2019?
I know.
Becky knows.
You're mute.
Oh, we have a shout out. Abaca Bank has been the best bank I've dealt with for handling cannabis money. Okay. Abaca. I don't know what Abaca. I'll have to look that up.
A local bank here in Michigan or internet bank?
No idea.
Give us a little more information on that then.
So Earth Day is kind of significant for iHemp Michigan because in 2019 we had 52 grower permits issued for $100 each by MDARD to iHemp Michigan members. We got the first licenses to grow hemp in the state of Michigan. So that was a cool day, to get that done.
What is the date on Earth Days? I know it's in April, but what's the actual date?
22nd.
22nd. Okay.
April 22nd. So
Thursday.
How appropriate. That would be a Thursday, yes.
So on.
What are you boys up to? You haven't shared that with me either, so.
Yeah, so we're going to Midland. We're going to broadcast from Mid-Michigan Hemp Supply, one of our sponsors. You right there, Blaine's background. Thank you, Mid-Michigan Hemp Supply. They have this, huge greenhouses, thousands of plants, a bunch of greenhouses and different equipment set up. And we're going to be doing some show and tell and networking in person on Thursday, April 22nd. So we're going to be doing this in a couple stages. We have some media and legislators that we're inviting to an earlier session, but I'm going to be posting that by this weekend. We'll be on the website where iHemp members can join us either at like 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock, something like that. So we've decided on some times and some pricing. So we're going to have a little bit of hors d'oeuvres and some. We're figuring that out because with the COVID, everything, especially COVID in Michigan right now is not good. So
yeah,
we're going to be as safe as possible. Yeah. We want to do this, have an in-person networking. We can be outside, weather permitting. Of course, there's a big barn, so we're going to keep the numbers light. But it's going to be an opportunity for iHemp Michigan members to gather and for those that are looking for ideas and genetics, that'll be available there by Mid-Michigan Hemp Supply.
Yeah, doing a face-to-face. We're glad that we're going to be able to offer that, and we're glad that we can do this in a safe manner for everybody.
Yeah.
We're still going to follow protocols. Even though maybe you have gotten the shots and that kind of stuff, we're still going to be trying to do the social distancing and also, mask wearing and things like that. So
what city
but it's going to be a great time for everybody to get together.
Midland,
okay.
Midland. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And talking about sponsors, I want to give a shout out to Film Organics, Roger. Last week, if you missed that show, certainly you should go back and watch part of that. Roger gave a very, very good talk. I wish I would have seen Roger and met Roger 2 years ago when I did my grow. Things would have turned out, I think, quite a bit differently as far as the weed control with that. So, but a great product they've got. They have a product that is compostable, not just it is biodegradable, but it's also compostable. So we're talking about there is that the year after, or that fall, when you are done with that weed barrier, even if you use the craft paper that he talked about to go underneath to help with the weeds, that's all within the fall, or certainly by next year, it's all back into the soil, and you just.
Is there a video I can play, Blaine?
Yeah, why don't you bring that up? We can do that. That'd be great.
Great idea.
It's really interesting on the product. They have the different colors they have, but they have the white strip down the middle. I found that to be very advantageous when we did some experimenting with the white mulch and black mulch. one of the tips he gave was get that plastic up a couple of weeks before you actually do it. That white in the middle will keep the young plants from burning as the black plastic puts a lot of heat on it. A lot of scorching my spots touching that black plastic. I believe Trickleys is one of their distributors here, but you can reach out right to Roger directly and you can get some more information on that. So if you're thinking about planting that way. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Speaking of sponsors, I have some news to share. We actually are going to production next week on some Frisbees.
Sweet.
Would that be iHemp manufacturing?
iHemp manufacturing.
Oh.
So geeked. You know, we have a couple of private label clients. We're doing our initial run with the Made in Michigan logoed Frisbee, and we're doing some testing on some different blends. You know, 'cause we can do some recycled material, hemp fiber, reclaimed ocean plastics, and we're doing little variations to see how things turn out, to fine tune it. So we're excited about that. So more to come. And
I can see a Frisbee disc tournament maybe this summer, huh?
Yeah, you know, actually, we were talking to, you know, Ferris State University has that industrial rubber and plastics department, and plastics are not a really sexy thing for kids to get into these days, right? You know, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going into plastics. You know, it's not the case, but what this whole hemp fiber thing kind of piqued some interest, and they're thinking it's going to be good for their department. So, and they were the 2015 Ultimate Champions. So we're talking to them. We might have something going there.
I know that Central has a Frisbee disc golf course that they have, and I've got one that's just a couple miles from my house here.
Oh yeah, the disc golf is everywhere, and so there's two different. You know, first off, outdoor recreation is huge in Michigan, and we have disc golf, and then we have ultimate frisbee. Ultimate frisbee is played more like rugby, in a way, where you throw to a receiver catches it, and he or she stays in place, and then throws it off to another receiver to move on down the field. So, you know, it's more like a soccer field kind of setup, but, you know, it's played kind of like rugby without the contact, I guess. It'd be more exciting with contact, but
that's because you play hockey, Dave. That's why you want that.
But but it's not intentional contact that I get involved with, unfortunately. Man, we had a couple guys collide last night. That was bad. Oof. On my same team, they collided. So,
ouch.
Dave wants to score a Gordie Howe hat trick, right?
You know it, yeah. Anything Gordie Howe would be awesome. He's my hero. But yeah, the disc golf is huge. You know, that's a whole nother market. You know, and we're actually going to be launching. We have a hemp backpack to go. You know, so you can carry your hemp disc golf discs or your ultimate frisbee all in your little hemp backpack, and it's going to be beautiful.
I think you should make some put the Hemperor's face on some of those frisbees, you know.
Oh, should. Yeah.
What do you think? I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
So,
That would be way cool.
We can do it.
Yeah.
We can do it. So that's coming along. You know, that's and one of our clients, we're sourcing some Colorado hemp too, to you know, the Colorado outdoor recreation is engaged with us, and you see things happening there. Oh,
one of the things that I will make a mention of that Mary McGraw, National Michigan Farmers Union, is one of our members, and we support them. And myself have been doing a series of classes this spring here regarding food safety. Well, we've got a little extra money left in our budget that we need to spend by the end of the month. So we're offering for free help if anybody needs to develop a farm food safety plan. So if anybody that grows vegetables, produce, and they sell it at like a farm market, or if they have their own farm and that kind of thing, and they've been working on their food safety, we can actually help them develop the handbook and get them a handbook, all that stuff. And we can do that for free. Now, normally when I do that for my business, I charge anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. So certainly if you know anybody out there that is looking for that kind of assistance, this would be great free help that they could get this month. We have to spend it in by the end of April. So that's why we're doing it for this month. So anybody out there looking for food safety and needs a plan, we can help them out with that. So I'll throw that out there.
Bruce is going to join us. So let's talk about NOCO real quick.
Okay.
Bruce is going to pop in here because
Sweet.
Nice.
I want to ride in the car.
Yep. So NOCO, here's the logo for 2021.
Ooh.
Nice hemp T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
At NOCO there was a lot of CBD products yet. I was a little, I was looking for fiber and grain stuff. There was some cool things. Hemp wool from Hemp Texture was there. A wool installation. I think this is a really cool product. Love to insulate my barn with that. There was a number of people offering some new decortication technology, and this is a final milled product from Arkan Sales. I think this is from the energy. Let's see. We had a couple of people, and I'm gonna be bringing these guys in for the iHemp hour. So Bish Enterprises has a double cut harvest system that looks pretty cool. And Energy Creates Energy. That is the processing and milling equipment that I saw there. And a lot of these technologies, though, they're still being developed. It's not, you ask them, well, where's it working now? It's like, well, we're just getting it out of the lab kind of thing. So it's coming. This was kind of cool. This cannabis magazine was at the show in Denver, and they have a whole spread on Michigan.
Whoa.
Cannabis in Michigan, pure Michigan.
Pure Michigan, pushing
a
it.
picture taken with them. We're going to submit an article, try to get a little positive press going there. So another gentleman from Missouri that I met down there that I thought was kind of interesting. They offer elderberries. So, and he'll even set you up. I have some elderberry twigs I'm going to stick in the ground and grow. But and this is, I think, a good direction. If hemp's going to be, CBD is going to be a supplement, let's market it along with these other natural supplements that have these health benefits, and elderberry is certainly one of them.
Makes good wine too.
Yeah, sure. So I thought that was real interesting. Oh, and I think Bruce is here. Bruce? No, attendees.
Well, you're working on that. I will make another couple other classified kind of ads we have on the site. If anybody's looking for what they call a high boy machine, this is one that sits above the crop, and you can actually till or spray or harvest with it actually too. We have somebody that has that for sale, and then they have some drying racks as well too. But hey, Bruce, good afternoon.
Hi guys, Blaine.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey.
joining us.
And Mike.
Yep.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks for showing up. So Bruce, we were just talking a little bit about NOCO. I bumped into you there, and you had your hemp car there. That's so very
Sir.
cool. and talking to you about your future developments. I'm super excited about what you want to have going on. We have a couple minutes. You want to bring us up to date on what you're working on?
Right. Yeah. Everybody's pretty much assuming that since I made a hemp car that I'm in the car business. But the car business is pretty tough to get into. And so what I'm really focused on now that I finished the first customer car is to stop making cars and instead make the materials so that other people can make cars and bikes and boats and sporting goods and anything else you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
Strongest fiber in the world, natural fiber in the world. And so yeah, as you guys know, it's a carbon negative material. So every time you replace, say, something like, say, fiberglass that's used, fiberglass reinforced plastics or carbon fiber or steel or aluminum, you have a dramatic change in the carbon footprint of the products. So that's what I've been focused on. The new entity is called carbon negative fiber. Catchy name, eh? You like that?
Carbon negative fiber. It's beautiful.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
well, certainly you being from
there's
Florida,
a lot of opportunity.
Certainly you being from Florida and us being from Michigan here, if we can make this into the boats, that's a huge market there to be able to replace that fiberglass.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I suspect that boat manufacturers will be one of the primary buyers of our new materials, simply because they can make their own decisions and they can adopt to the market a lot faster than, say, the Ford Motor Companies and General Motors of the world. Of course, those guys are looking at natural fibers. They've got they use a lot of hemp in their door panels and this sort of thing, which is a little different application. But they already understand that hemp can be lighter and cheaper for those types of applications. But when you start to take a look at making an entire car body or a chassis or something like that, which I believe is possible, even chassis, you might have to use a little bit more than if you had to use it. If you had to use carbon fiber, but companies like Ferrari and Koenigsegg are making structural chassis, cabs, etc., which everything bolts into. Very different than the old ladder frame from the Model Ts that was used for decades. That sort of application is coming down the road. But the smaller companies like the other ones that I mentioned, I think they'll adopt it a little bit quicker.
So, Bruce, if there's a manufacturer that wants to experiment with your product, do you have a path to do that yet?
What I'm doing is I'm looking for a very finite set of manufacturers to work with during this year. We'll have the material ready for them to experiment with here probably within the next 2 months. And so I want to work with those that already get it, right? They already understand the importance of reducing the carbon footprint of their products. And so the ones that have approached me already, some of those in the sporting goods and the marine space, they already knew that they wanted to reduce the footprint. Don't really want to work with any companies that don't understand that.
Right.
They don't understand that their products are destroying the planet, and they don't already have the religion. Then I don't have time to educate.
Right.
So, Bruce, are you getting most of your material that you're able to work with, or that you're working with now here from the States? Are you still having to import it to get the right material that you need for your products?
Great question, Blaine. In the past, all of my materials that I made the cars from were a bi-directional hemp fabric imported from China. Most of the hemp fabrics come from right now. Yeah, so see that close. You can see the weave goes left and right and up and down. So that's a bi-directional. This is just one ply, so it's very flexible, but you can get an idea of how thick that rascal is.
Yeah.
This one is about half the thickness maybe not quite half the thickness, and it's unidirectional. So you can get a lower profile, and you can when you build with this type of material, unidirectional material, you want to put the fabric in the direction of the load to the greatest amount possible. So it works really well with things like boats, as they go in one direction, forward, right? And then make it stronger, in other directions, because you have to have these strength in the other directions. You'll put the second ply in a different direction, this direction, that direction, for however many plies. By the time you get done, this is only a 16th of an inch thick, and it's 4 plies of unidirectional hemp fabric. And it's
what kind of strength?
keep having to cut down we haven't measured it yet. I just do it from my own experiences in making fenders and this sort of thing for cars, and this is the baddest boy I've made so far.
Cool.
So we are going to do some testing. This was all handmade, so the tests that I did, if I send it off to a tensile strength lab, I'm not going to get consistent results. So I'm looking forward to the first materials coming out, and do formal testing along with these different manufacturers that are helping us with this stuff.
Adams Independent Testing out of North Dakota is looking at getting into doing fiber tensile strengths, the different genetics, to offer some of that testing that we need, as we figure out what genetics and lengths and such we need for the different projects. There's a lot.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, and what's interesting here, and back to Blaine's question, where I'm sourcing that from, ultimately that's the beauty of hemp, is that since it can be grown pretty much anywhere in the world, and since the simple fact that people that use it are going to want to source it as locally as possible, because otherwise the shipping is going to be very expensive, and that would cut into their margins. So it's a great equalizer for humanity and industry. Countries that want to make their own products are going to be able to grow their own raw materials and replace a lot of these materials like I rattled off.
Well, Bruce,
And so I'm looking for it to be available here in the United States, hopefully very soon.
So that the material that you showed us there, so when you buy that, do you buy that is it like in a bolt or a roll, or is it flat? I mean, or do you make it, you get the raw and then make what you're showing us with the fiber?
Right now right now we're going to be sourcing. I found a weaver here in the States, and I'm looking all over the world to get the very strongest possible yarns, which would be made from the very smallest diameter hemp fiber, and also the longest hemp fiber together. So the smallest diameter and the length are what constitute the highest tensile strength. So that you can start to use hemp fiber for something more than just t-shirts, right?
Yeah.
So the strength will be much stronger over the years as we develop, as more different cultivars come on board, and more consistent practices of when to plant, when to harvest, how to harvest, how to treat that fiber once it is harvested. Do you beat the hell out of it and break down the hemp fiber, or do you try to take care not to cut it? So these are all things that are kind of in flux, and I think what's going to happen is we're going to see the strength of these types of materials go up in the next coming decade pretty dramatically. And there's ways to treat hemp fiber as well to make it very strong as well. Just as one example, you can take a hemp fiber and put it into an aqueous solution with graphene, and just doing that smooths out the surfaces as well, and also increases the tensile strength by 100%. Now, whether or not hemp graphene will be able to do that same job is yet to be seen. And if it can be done without increasing the carbon footprint dramatically is yet to be seen. So these are, and then there's probably a half dozen other treatments that are available for hemp fiber that can help make it stronger, and the interfacial bonding between the resins, etc., improve as well. So there's a lot of room. It's kind of like when Henry Ford started making cars. He used some regular old steel, and then early 1900s, he switched over to Canadian steel. And so,
well, it'll be interesting too.
this whole industry is going to mature.
It'll be interesting to see moving forward too, the right kind of fiber that we're going to need to grow and what we're going to need, can we do that same thing with some of the CBD plant material, or do we need to have that long, tall fiber? So it'll be interesting to see as we move forward into that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And, how it's going to be interesting because in the years to come, we're going to find that whether it's a single use crop or a dual use crop or a tri-use crop, it's going to kind of come to bear. As we're all starting to realize now, there's a finite demand for plants grown for CBD. There's an oversupply in the market right now, and I've heard some people say, I had one consultant that I spent some time with yesterday. She's getting out of the CBD market, simply going into the fiber market, simply because she said the demand is only for about 2,000. I think she said 2,000 acres a year. That sounded pretty light to me, but I know there's been kind of a slowdown in the CBD market because of oversupply. So
yeah,
if you
it's
can,
like anything else, we find more use for that. Yeah, it's just kind of the nature of the beast kind of thing, right? So,
yeah, we need the proper regulation.
Yeah, and so if you can grow, right, if you can profitably grow, say a tri-use crop, that would be nirvana, right? If there's enough demand out there in the marketplace, if companies like mine making structural hemp, and then companies like Levi Strauss and Patagonia making textiles for clothing from the fiber, and then enough people are building with hempcrete to demand a whole lot of herd, then you might end up, a lot of places might end up growing a tri-purpose crop to get the CBD as well. So even though the yields would be dramatically lower, but it would be interesting. I've got a buddy down in who likes to vacation down in Honduras, one of the islands off Honduras, and he's meeting up with the president of Honduras because those people are in terrible shape.
Really?
And they need housing and they need food. Well, what's the best way to provide housing and food?
Grow some grain
in an economical way, ecological way. Yeah. So yeah, I see just the fiber and the grain being probably the number one way to address this climate change situation, the climate crisis that we have. If we all of a sudden magically, right, the Biden administration and the other major administrations around the world realize that we have to make everything possible for them. We could be making stuff and sequestering CO2 out of the atmosphere while simultaneously avoiding dumping stuff in the atmosphere. And just one example of that is carbon fiber. For every ton of carbon fiber that's made, it dumps 20 tons of CO2 in the atmosphere because it requires so many fossil fuels. You can't make carbon fiber from electricity. Oh, you can, but it would be so expensive to do it. Same thing with steel. Same thing with cement. You have to use massive amounts of fossil fuels in order to make these materials, and all of them, as a result, are highly carbon positive, and they dump. Altogether, I think it's something like 18% of all man-made greenhouse gases. And so you've got all these industries starting to figure out that they're in trouble. Fossil fuels are going away. So the steel industry, aluminum industry, fiberglass, carbon fiber, and cement, they're all scrambling around trying to figure out how can we continue to do things the way we've done things, for decades, right? And not have to invest into new technologies in order to heat up our raw materials to make our products.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce, we
So
want to thank you
it's a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce, we want to thank you for jumping on and sharing some of that stuff. We'll definitely have you back on as we move through the summer and update us on what's going on. And because we all need to know where we need to go in the future. And you mentioned the one thing you mentioned there, we're going to need a lot of raw material for this in the future. So, it's going to be there. The opportunity is going to be coming. So, Dave, it all starts with Dave's Frisbee, and then we're going to go in your car.
Frisbees are the way. Yes.
And Bruce, I want to ride in the car when next time I can get down there and see that. So,
Yeah.
It looks pretty sexy.
Great. Yeah. By the way, if you guys are interested, myself and a few others are trying to pull together a bit of a consortium right now. The focus is to identify and quantify how hemp can be used not only to avoid CO2 being dumped into the atmosphere, but also reduce CO2 in the atmosphere. I call it a car technology. It has nothing to do with cars, but it's carbon avoidance and reduction. There are two different measurements, and reduction is what Elon Musk and just about everybody else is talking about. How do we pull CO2 out of the atmosphere? And everybody here and everybody listening already understands that hemp grows faster than trees, 4 times faster than trees. And so while it's doing so, it's pulling CO2 out of the atmosphere. So if you make durable goods or recyclable goods out of hemp, then you're reducing CO2 out of the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that the administrations around the world need to understand as well is if you also avoid using materials that dump stuff in the atmosphere, that's a big number as well. Yeah. So if you stop using steel and instead you use hemp, or if you stop using fiberglass and instead you use hemp, or if you build an entire 22-story building, right, and don't use steel, don't use concrete except for down the foundation, that building could theoretically, if it's made out of structural hemp and also hempcrete, could be 14 times lighter and be very, very carbon negative instead of being hugely carbon positive. Yeah, and so that's where we've got to go as a society, human society.
Yep, all in.
So we're trying to get a handle on these numbers.
Yeah. I could connect you up with some people that would have some information on that. I'd like to collaborate with you on that. So let us know.
Absolutely. Yep.
But unfortunately, we're at the end of the iHemp hour, and we haven't gotten to the Hemperor yet.
No, we have not, have we? No.
We have to. We need the Hemperor, and right. Let me share the correct screen this time.
Okay, you got the picture. There we go.
And Becky is ahead of the game. Kudos to Becky because we have our hemp and help me out, Blaine.
Pecano crusted salmon. That's the way I say it.
Ooh,
you might be saying that right, but yeah. Yes, it's grill time again. It's the summertime, and we're having fun with doing that. Got out the other day and got the grill all cleaned up and from the winter use, which I use it quite a bit. And but this is a favorite recipe. I love doing things quick and easy and simple on the grill, easy cleanup.
12 minutes, yeah, that's right in my ballpark.
Yeah, simple and easy. So this flavorful crusted salmon makes for a quick and easy meal. There's loaded with protein, gluten-free, and low carb. The ingredients are 5 to 6 ounce salmon fillets, a half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese or Pecano cheese, a quarter cup of hemp hearts, a tablespoon of dried basil, a tablespoon of dried parsley, 1 to 2 tablespoons of hemp seed oil, a tablespoon of lemon juice, and lemon slices for serving. It's pretty simple. You put all this together and you get your grill going. And you line a baking sheet. If you do this in the oven, they also give instructions for the oven, but I'm doing it on the grill. And you add a little of the rub, a little over olive, a little of the hemp seed oil over to the fillet. You combine the hemp parts, the cheese, the basil, the parsley into a small bowl. You cover the top of each fillet with the hemp parts and cheese mixture and press down with your hands to help the mixture stick. And you put it on the grill for probably 10, maybe 15 minutes until it has that nice color to it, and you take it off and enjoy it with one of your favorite side dishes. So
Beautiful.
What time's dinner?
That is the recipe for today. Yes, it is.
That can be found on ihempmichigan.com.
Dave, what about this weekend? Do we want to talk about that?
Yeah, so check your email. There's going to be a special invite going out to iHemp Michigan members for a networking event. So we had so much fun at the Hempies Award, the Saturday night of the Midwest iHemp Expo this year. We're gonna do a little networking session and then hang out for some cocktails for a little bit Saturday night. So I'm thinking probably
kind of a good way to meet and greet. We'll have a lot of, we're trying to get one of our goals with, of course, is to make sure that we try to get the growers and the processors and buyers together. So it's a great way to network and do that.
Yeah.
So you can join us this Saturday, watch your emails. Also, we have a new structure for membership, which is on the website as well. So
we have a new membership directory. So with the membership directory was a manual system that we had set up initially. And now our members are in a new directory, and you can sort by category. And to join iHemp Michigan is pretty simple. And we have a number of new plans to make it really affordable for seniors and students and such to get involved. But we're also asking for the big ask for the corporate sponsors and such that want to get engaged with us, because we're at that point now in this industry where we need the big boys to start playing. We need to everybody's got to step up their game because this industry is growing rapidly, and we need that kind of investment and involvement from corporations.
All right, I want to thank everybody for being with the show today. Next week, we're going to have Charles with Hemp Grower. It's a digital magazine that's out. He's going to fill us in on some of the good news. That's from Ohio, is kind of where that's out of. And then on the next week, that would be the 22nd. That's Earth Day. That's when we'll have the live networking event and at Midland at Mid-Michigan Hemp Supply. There'll be some information coming on that. Right now it's $20 for members and $40 for non-members. So a little incentive there if you want to join and save a little money on that. And then on the 29th, we're going to have Greg Dean from the Hemp Plastic Company give us a real good update on where things are going with hemp plastics and where that's going to take us in the near future with this whole market. So, and by then maybe we'll have some Frisbees to toss around maybe. So
I think we will.
We're hoping so. Right. Again, thanks Bruce for joining us. We're definitely going to have you on at future shows too to help us out. So
yeah, keep us informed, Bruce. We're
Thank you guys.
If we can be of any help to be in that part of your group and that consortium, we'll be more than happy to do that. So absolutely.
Anytime for you guys.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
I'll see you next week.
All right. Take care. Peace and love.